do today is tell you a little bit about my career, some of the lessons I've learned, some of the things I've done, some of the things that define my entire entrepreneurial career. There's no real structure to this, so I'm just going to speak whatever comes to mind and probably go in a couple different directions. By the way, a lot of the lessons that I may impart to you throughout this are explained in much more detail in the books that I've written in the past year. They're all on Amazon. Most notably, there are two books by the title of 2020 Hindsight, Lessons I've Learned. These are lessons you don't learn about in business school. These are real life lessons. For anybody contemplating becoming an entrepreneur, somebody who already is an entrepreneur, you're guaranteed to learn a lot from these lessons. So let me go back a number of years, more than I care to admit, and tell you how it all started for me. I went to college, and for me, becoming an entrepreneur really was not a choice. It was in my blood. It was just something I had to do, was looking forward to doing, but really had no idea how to do it. I'd never finished college because I wanted to go out there and build something. And my first venture was an idea that I had that I'd never seen before, really had never been done before here in Southern California. And what I did was I started a delivery service, and we basically took calls from 6 p.m. to midnight and picked up things from fast food restaurants mostly. So if somebody wanted us to run to McDonald's or Burger King or whatever, we went and got them their order, charged them $3 delivery charge plus a small tip. That was essentially the business. Now, what's interesting about this is I did this from 6 p.m. to midnight for exactly 1 year, for 365 days, without ever taking a single evening off. During the day, I had a job. This was my only corporate job that I ever had to support myself. But the reason I'm telling you this, other than it just being my first business, is most notably, this taught me a lot of discipline. Entrepreneurs have to be disciplined. They cannot be procrastinators. They cannot be lazy. You need to do what needs to be done. And this taught me the discipline because I worked from 9 to 5, and then from 6 p.m. to midnight, every single day of the year, including Christmas Eve even, I operated this small delivery service. And that was a valuable lesson, to just do what needs to be done and not think twice about it. Now, in retrospect, after I had this business, this was in Marina del Rey, later, a number of other companies started doing similar things. I remember one company called Restaurants on the Run. They became quite sizable. So it's entirely possible that I originated this concept here in California, and then other people picked up from it. It was my first business. I never made any money doing it, but it taught me a lot, like I said, about discipline. There are two things that define my entrepreneurial career. One of them is always looking to learn new lessons, and a lot of the lessons that I've learned came from my mistakes, sometimes even my failures. That's where we learn the most important lessons, not from our successes, because our successes actually become a seed for our first failure. When we succeed for the first time, we never learn how to hold on to that success. And when we succeed for the first time, we end up getting into some bad habits. First of all, we suddenly think we can do no wrong, it will continue forever, and then it all falls apart overnight. Once you've gone through losing it all overnight, the next time around, you learn how to hold on to it. And these are also some lessons that I detail in my books. So lessons I've learned and actively seeking to learn more lessons has definitely defined my career. But there is something in my career that I would call my secret ingredient. What has made me repeatedly successful to the point where I start a company, more often than not, a company that I know nothing about, a field, an industry that I'm totally new to, yet a year later it's a multi-million-dollar company. What is the secret ingredient that has allowed me to do that over and over and over again? The secret ingredient is this, and this becomes a foundational requirement for you to be successful. And the secret ingredient is this: find something that you are deeply interested in, even if you know nothing about it, something that can become a passion for you. And the reason is this: if you're really passionate about what you're doing, number one, you have the motivation that you need. You have the motivation to get up in the morning. You have the motivation to work late when you need to. You have the motivation to do what is necessary without procrastination, without laziness. And you know, if you love what you're doing, it's not really work, is it? You enjoy going to work. You look forward to every day going to work. I love to work. I've always looked forward to going to work. And the way I do that is by doing something I'm very interested in. But like I said, almost every time I've done this, it has been something that I know nothing about. And to become really good at what we do, to become successful, we need to become experts in our field. Well, when you're interested in what you're doing, when you're passionate about it, you can learn what you need to learn very, very quickly. That's part of the secret ingredient. Have you ever tried to read something that you're just not interested in? It doesn't work. It doesn't sink in. You can read it over and over and over again, and you still don't get it. But if you're interested in it, you can't get enough information. So you can become an expert in something you know nothing about now in just a few months because you're interested in it. And that has, along with learning from mistakes and successes and looking for learning lessons, the fact that I always do something I'm passionate about is definitely part of, let's call it, my secret ingredient. Now, as I've progressed over the last few decades, I have gone from one industry to another, every time a field I knew nothing about. You know, I started with a small delivery service. I've been in the mail order business. I've been in the sweepstakes business. I've been in the charitable business, the computer business, the precious metals and diamond business. I've written business plans for a living. I've been a radio talk show host. I've been an instructor at an entrepreneurial seminar. Really, I've been just all over the place, but every part of it I really, really enjoyed. And like I said, I enjoy working, but I always choose something that is particularly interesting to me. Now, at some point in your entrepreneurial career, you're going to jump into something where you need more capital than you have available to you, more savings than you may have available. You know, as a side note, before I go on with this subject, you know, most people think that entrepreneurs are these all-or-nothing risk takers. In my experience, that's not true. It certainly hasn't been true in my career. We take risks, but they're always calculated risks. We always understand that there has to be a backup plan. If something ends in total failure, we can't be sitting there homeless because we put everything into it. You know, entrepreneurs are typically not all-or-nothing risk takers. I have not been either. But sometimes we do need more than we have available to us. And I learned a very, very important lesson the first time I had to go out and seek capital. I had an idea that had to do with the mail order and sweepstakes business. And I was introduced to a gentleman who was interested in being part of that business, but wasn't able to from a career standpoint because he was running a very sizable company already. So I was introduced to this gentleman, and I told him about my idea, and I was, mid to late 20s. I mean, I was a new kid on the block, basically, when it came to starting businesses still. But I was so convinced that I was able to do or fulfill this idea. I was so passionate about it and so confident in my own abilities to do this. I really developed a failure is not an option type of attitude, that this passion, this drive within me must have come across. And the gentleman decided to put $50,000 into it. And we did our first test mailing. Like I said, it was in the mail order and sweepstakes business. And the first mailing basically broke even. And I thought, oh my God, what do I do now? Well, I went back to him and I said, the reason we only broke even is because we didn't do it big enough. We need economies of scale. We need to do this bigger. I need $250,000. And guess what? He put up $250,000. And he walked away with a net profit of $1.7 million after just 1 year. So his investment in me was really quite worthwhile. But there was a very, very important lesson in this. Let me detail the lesson to you in a little story. Imagine I approached you on the street. You did not know me. And I presented you with the greatest business idea on the planet. And I said, would you invest $20,000? Well, you don't know me. You don't know my background of successes. You don't know my character. You don't know my business habits. Would you invest $20,000 in me even if I had the best idea in the world? Probably not. Now, let's change the scenario a little bit. Let's assume Bill Gates approaches you and says, I have a new idea for a business. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but would you like to invest $20,000 into it? How would you respond? I'd say, oh my God, can I invest $50,000? Bill Gates, of course I'm going to invest in you. So the lesson is this. When you go out to raise money, there are a lot of things that are very important to help attract capital. Some people call these money magnets, like a business plan, a great idea, a great team. There are a lot of things, a trademark, a patent. All of these things can help you attract money. But there is one overriding thing that investors invest in. They do not invest in a project, they invest in the people. And this is why I got the money the first time around. My passion, my persistence, my enthusiasm for what I was about to do was so strong that the person on the other side, the person who invested in me, he didn't want to be left out. That's what it was all about. So when you go out to raise money, remember, they're investing in you. They're not investing in your project. So you have to be the number one money magnet. And what works better than anything else is what I've already told you. Passion, enthusiasm, persistence, and an absolute failure is not an option attitude. That's a very, very important lesson. Now, this was my first, I would say, resounding success, this enterprise. I started a lot of different companies afterwards. Every one of them, in some way, was an idea that I had, either some sort of invention, a new way of doing things, different way of doing things. So I was always breaking new ground. I define myself a bit as a creator. I like to create things out of nothing. And probably one of the best things I ever did, one of the things I enjoyed the most, one of the things I felt best about was I discovered a new way of raising funds for charitable industries. And I started a company that supported needy kids around the world. And this was in a field that I had never been involved in before. I'd never been involved in the charitable business. But again, I was so passionate about it. After 1 year of doing this, we were supporting 2,300 children around the world. Food, medicine, school tuition, school uniforms. We were building churches, wells, houses in these villages in 10 countries. We worked through a Christian child sponsorship organization. And this was one of the most fulfilling things that I've ever done. And this was surprisingly not a business that made me a lot of money. It was a business that made me a living, but that was about it. But it was a business I felt so good about. This gave me a whole new definition for the word success. If you have a room full of people in front of you and you ask them, how do you define success? The majority of people will somehow tie money to the word success. I do not. For me, success means doing something that you really enjoy, that you're passionate about. And success means being fulfilled. And fulfillment comes from doing something you love. Now, one thing I've learned is that the money automatically follows. You can do something you love, anything, and become immensely successful in a financial sense at it. Anything can be turned into an economic powerhouse if you know how to do it, and that's something else that I go through in my books. So this gave me a whole new definition of success. So nowadays, if I look for something new to do, I look for something that I can be passionate about, something that can really fulfill me, which typically involves helping other people in some way. And the money typically follows automatically. Even if it doesn't, you can learn to inject financial principles into any kind of activity or business and turn it into an economic powerhouse. That lesson is in a book that I wrote called The Secrets of Wealth, which can also be found on Amazon. Incidentally, I have 3 books on Amazon right now. The 2 that are titled 2020 Hindsight and The Secrets of Wealth. My 4th book is on the topic of motivation, which will be on Amazon probably in a few weeks. And I think this book breaks some new ground on the topic of motivation. I had some really insights into that topic that I've never seen discussed or written about anywhere. So like I said, this may break some new ground. I would recommend that you read it. It can teach you to find the motivation within yourself to make anything happen that you want to. And a lot of people really don't know what motivates them. And this book also puts you through some exercises on how to find your core desires, your core beliefs, the things that motivate you the strongest, how to find your passions in life. So anyway, that's coming out as a side note. So we're 20 minutes into this. Why don't I go give one more lesson? We'll make this quick. This was a very important lesson. I had a business startup in the computer business with somebody else once, and it didn't work. The partnership fell apart in a matter of weeks. And what I found was, we went into it with the absolute best of intentions. Share everything equally, responsibilities, decisions, profits, everything, nothing but good intentions. And at first, when the major decisions had to be made, there was absolutely no problems on either side. We agreed on everything. But then something really strange happened. The small stuff had to be decided on. The one that was the deal breaker in our situation was the design of our logo. I had some design experience, so we decided that I would go ahead and design our logo, which I did. When I presented it to him, he didn't like it. Well, I was a little bit emotionally attached to it, plus I had experience in creative design, and I thought it was a good logo. He did not. Well, this turned into a bit of a battle of egos at the time, and it literally killed the company over the silliest of issues, a logo. We actually ended up in court together. Well, from then on, everything else I did by myself, but and always successfully. But you know, when you do things by yourself, there's some truth to the statement, it's lonely at the top. You know, you can only be so close to your employees in terms of developing friendships. There's always a little bit of distance that needs to be maintained. And after a while, if you don't have somebody to share your success with, it does feel a little bit lonely. So my last business was in the precious metals and diamond field. I had a diamond buying, a gold and diamond buying company at our peak. We had 49 stores in 3 states. It was one of the largest ones in the country, actually, and certainly one of my favorite things that I've ever done. I absolutely love this business. But when I came up with the idea, I didn't want to go at it alone. I wanted to bring some friends in who had always wanted to go into business with me because they saw my track of success and they wanted to learn from me and they wanted to participate. So I invited 2 friends, and but I thought about this issue with the partnerships, this problem that I had previously, and I came up with an idea, and I decided to try something new to hopefully give this partnership between 3 people a real chance of working. And you know something, this idea worked so brilliantly well in 5 years of working together. We never had any sizable disagreements to speak of. The company was enormously successful. We enjoyed what we did. There were never any arguments, discussions, anything like that, because of this structure that I thought of, that I tried out. It was an experiment, and I just happened to hit the nail on the head, and I'm going to share this with you. When you decide to go into business with somebody, remember what happened to me in this computer business. It's the small decisions. You get into a battle of egos, and it'll destroy a company. So what I did is I divided this company into departments. Like, my expertise was the financial side, the creative side, the direction of the company, the accounting side. One of my other partners was marketing and sales, and the third partner was technical side. He was an engineer, so anything that falls into that side of the business, you know, went towards him. So what I decided is to turn the company into departments: financial, marketing, sales, accounting, human resources, etc., etc. All the departments that every company has. And I determined who is probably best in those departments, who enjoys those departments the most, and I also found out what areas do we not enjoy working in. And then every department got a department head. Like, for example, the accounting department was mine. So the idea was every decision would be made jointly with nothing but the best of intentions, but if there is a disagreement, there is someone with the final word. I had the final word in accounting. So-and-so had the final word in sales. So-and-so had the final word in technical aspects of the business. Human resource, marketing, sales, etc. Every department had a department head with somebody who had veto power. We still made all decisions together, but in the end, if there is a serious disagreement, somebody has to be boss. And you know something? In 5 years, a, what was it, $40, $50 million company, 49 stores, we had 2 situations where I had to say, guys, listen, I have more experience in this field. I need to veto your decision. This is how we're going to do it. I got no resistance whatsoever. My veto ended up being the right thing. And after 5 years, the 3 of us are still the best of friends. The company was a resounding success. The system I developed worked brilliantly well. And this was actually the lesson that got me writing books on lessons that I've learned. This is the first real lesson in the first 2020 hindsight book, the one on partnerships. It's a real important one. So if you're going to go into a partnership with somebody, this is how you want to do it. Structure it according to departments. Every department has to have a boss. So, that's
Q&A?
it. We're kind of out of time.
Q&A.
Q&A. All right. You want to pick the questions?
All right.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions that you guys want to ask him? Go ahead, and then we'll read them out. Perfect. He didn't. Yeah, I know, right? He didn't. This is just him free flowing, you guys. So yeah, if you guys want any wisdom, go ahead, ask the questions. If not, oh, by the way.
Thank you for all the compliments. That's really wonderful.
Oh, what's your advice for structuring a not-for-profit?
Oh, the not-for-profit, there's something very interesting about that. The non-for-profit world is very similar to the for-profit world. The only thing that's really different is you have to qualify to be a non-for-profit. However, the way you do business is really not much different. You have competition. You have people you report to, they could be shareholders, members, whatever, donors. And all the things that apply for regular businesses apply for not-for-profit also. They have the same, as they get really big, they have the same bureaucracies. The only difference is the profits get reinvested into the business. It doesn't mean you can't make a lot of money by having a not-for-profit. For example, the founder of Goodwill Industries, which is one of the largest not-for-profits around, and I can't tell you how much stuff I've donated to them, the founder makes over $2 million a year. A lot of people don't like that. It doesn't bother me one bit because that company does a whole lot of good. I think it's wonderfully structured, and the person who built this multi-million-dollar enterprise, even though it's not-for-profit, deserves to get compensated. And I've always held the belief that the more good you do in the world, the more you're entitled to make off of that business. So the not-for-profit, other than the way it's structured, is really no different from regular for-profit businesses.
All right. Oh my goodness. Okay, so questions regarding the books.
Yes.
What made you want to become an author?
Okay, very simple. I have written books, my entire adult life. I just never did anything with them because I just wrote them because I really, really enjoy writing. But what always happens is I give a few chapters to some people. I develop like a little fan club. And when I started writing some of these lessons that I've learned as an entrepreneur, and I gave them to people, the reactions I got were so off the charts that I thought, oh my God, this really has some commercial value. I can really help a lot of people with these lessons. And, that's exactly, if you go on Amazon, you type in my name, all 3 books will come up, and you look at the reviews that these books have received. I never expected anything like it. And now when people read my books, they want to go into business with me. They ask me to be their mentor. They ask business advice. So the impact my books have been so strong. It's not anything that I ever expected. And this really defines the word fulfillment to me, because the 2 things that define me, like I mentioned already, is one being a creator and the other one being a teacher. I love to impart knowledge that helps other people. And writing books incorporates both of these things. I create something, the book, out of nothing, and the lessons that I write about, I teach. And, whoever reads my books is guaranteed to learn something that they didn't know before, valuable lessons that can help you immediately make a difference in your trajectory towards success, wealth, whatever you're looking for. And what I have put together, if you put all my books together, they really encompass the title of this, which is Success by Design. If you learn the right lessons, success can become a predetermined certainty. It no longer is a crapshoot. You can put me into any business, even a business that I know nothing about. As long as I'm interested in it, I can virtually guarantee you I'll be successful in that business, because the lessons I've learned, I learned them the hard way. You don't have to. You can read my books and read them and learn them the easy way. But once I learned those lessons, I learned that they are universal lessons. They apply to any kind of business, whether it's the partnership lesson, whether it's the lesson on how to raise funds, being the person, being the number one money magnet. Doesn't matter what you're raising funds for, those lessons are universal. So success can become a predetermined certainty if you know the right lessons ahead of time. And what I'm trying to do with my books is save you tens of thousands of dollars in money wasted on mistakes and years of trial and error that I had to go through. And your trajectory towards success can be dramatically accelerated by learning these lessons ahead of time.
All right. A couple of questions that were asked. If you guys listened to the beginning of the scope, especially about how long he worked for someone and what his first business was and what age, you'll find them at the beginning of the scope. So just rewatch it real quick. For the essence of time, someone had asked, what is your take on people writing books just to get speaking engagements?
Oh, it's a very good question. There are books written about this, actually. The least effective way to make money nowadays by writing books is by trying to sell your books. You don't make a whole lot of money by selling your books. Now, the self-publishing world has allowed authors to increase their margins on the amount of money they make per book. But in the traditional publishing world, even the number one best-selling authors in the world, Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen, on their Chicken Soup for the Soul series, only made $1 per book. Nowadays, a book is something totally different. It becomes your new calling card, your business card. A book establishes you as an authority in your field. It establishes you as an expert in your field. And the way to make an income by writing books is to use it as such and get speaking and consulting agreements. And there are people out there and companies out there that will do that for you. When you have the books, and obviously they have to be good books, they become your new business card. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned speaking agreements, because someone asked, do you do speaking engagements?
I do, yes. I have been on stage my entire life. Even as a teenager, I was a magician traveling through Europe doing magic shows in hotels and at birthday parties. I became an instructor at entrepreneurial forums. Even during my one corporate employment, I worked for MCI Communications for a number of years. Even there, I was a salesperson. I was very good at what I did. They had me teach my techniques to other people. Then I became a radio talk show host for 2.5 to 3 years, which again is like being on stage. So, being on stage to me means a lot, because when you are imparting knowledge to somebody and you see the audience being receptive to this knowledge, and then later you see it actually making a difference in their lives, to me there's nothing more fulfilling than being able to help someone else make their dreams come true.
All right. So social media, do you leverage social media to spread your message?
I do. When I come out with a new book, my publisher puts a social media campaign together, which has taken 2 of my books to bestseller status on Amazon. Both 2020 Hindsight and The Secrets of Wealth hit bestseller status in their category on Amazon, and this was done almost exclusively through social media. You can find me on Facebook, you can find me on LinkedIn, and you can find me on Twitter. Truthfully, the other ones, I know there are a lot of new ones that I really am not very familiar with. I also have my website, which explains what my books are about, provides links to Amazon, and my website is basically my name, parvizfirouzgar.com.
All right, so real quick, for those of you guys who want to get in touch with him, Parviz, his name is written in our title. So in the title of this scope, we have his Twitter handle and also a link to his Amazon books. So each time you've shared it on Twitter, you've shared the link, click on the link there, and you'll be able to see him. He's now connected with Peripreneurs on Twitter, and you can click on the link to be able to go to his to Amazon to buy his books. So it's Parviz Firouzgar. And yes, we will be doing an after party show in 10 minutes. You guys, I can read this, Fab, I see that. You're good, and Trish, I can read you as well, so you guys are not blocked. You guys are good. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, Parviz.
Yeah, one more word. If you would like to befriend me on Facebook or LinkedIn, and you have any kind of questions about a business you're contemplating, please don't hesitate to send me a message. I'd be more than happy to respond to it.
And if you like coffee and live in Southern California, definitely hit him up. He knows a very good coffee shop.
Yes, and so do you. That's where we
There
met.
you go. Awesome, cool. All right, you guys, we're going to go ahead and end it off. Remember, once again, yes, you guys are coming. You guys might get to meet him in person. So I will talk about Blab for Thursday. Thank you guys so much for joining in. Thank you guys so much for watching and for sharing. I will see you guys. We will see you guys in 10 minutes at the after party. All right. Have a good one.
Thank you.
If I can learn how to turn an iPad.